For more on this, we're now joined by Managing Director of Vol Air Logistics, Nozipho Mbatha. She joins us now via our video link. Nozipho, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. Let's talk about the expansion of the South African Airways and expanding its flights now to Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. Surely this is good news for the national carrier.
Yes, it is. Good evening and good evening to the viewers. Definitely it is great news actually, because the SAA regional network is actually the best performing at the moment. And if you remember, previously SAA was known as that best airline to bring Africa to the world, to take Africa to the world and the world to Africa. So I suppose Prof. Lamula is still building on that by laying a solid foundation by ensuring that the regional network is well established and it's and is much more functional before he actually open more international routes. So it really is great news, especially because Tanzania is one of the South Africa's strategic economic partners. The significant investment from direct investment from South Africa that goes to Tanzania. So hopefully business will leverage on this opportunity as well.
And perhaps let's talk about the route. How busy is this route? I mean, you also talk about business at the same time. Tanzania is really an attraction for many South Africans. It's a popular destination when it comes to those looking at taking a break or taking a holiday.
Yes, it certainly is, especially the tourism route is quite busy. But also, as I'm saying, Tanzania is a strategic economic hub where there is significant direct foreign investment from South Africa into Tanzania. And also you must remember that the routes that SAA services in the region are also connecting routes. So it's not only South Africans going to Tanzania, but also the world going to Tanzania through South Africa. So it is quite, it's a healthy route, hence SAA started with daily flights. It is quite a profitable route.
And perhaps what went into reviving, this route? As you say, very strategic route, very important to the country and also to the rest of the continent.
Well, I wouldn't have the minute details of how Prof and his team arrived at that decision, but I would assume that based on the approach that Prof seemed to have taken in terms of strengthening the regional routes of SAA, because at the moment, given that SAA has just relaunched in 2021, but the regional network of SAA is currently the best performing. So I think that is the strategy to say, let us strengthen our regional route first so that we can then reopen those international routes, relying on the connecting routes that we have in the region. But also there is a significant drive towards strengthening the regional trade, the inter trade within the continent, and it is imperative that SAA as a parastatal follows that, because remember, this is not just a commercially driven entity, it also balances itself with its developmental imperatives, the national duty as a parastatal. So it is imperative that as our government drive this, leads the interregional trade in the continent, that SAA, because the SAA Act underlines that SAA has to ensure that the transportation capacity towards development is there. So strengthening the regional routes by SAA speaks to also the developmental agenda and the intertrade agenda of the continent.
And I mean, SAA has been struggling for quite some time, but something quite unique and important took place last year when we saw SAA recording its first profits. And, what do you make of the national carrier beginning to see, a very important increase and, of course, profit making?
Yeah, so firstly, I think we must give credit where it's due. Martin Luther once said, our goal for education is intelligence plus character, and we've seen that in Prof. Lamula. He's been very decisive, but what we must appreciate mostly about him, over and above the integrity with which he leads the organization, is the fact that he's very intentional in how he runs the organization. He's taken into cognizance its national agenda that is in the South African Airways Act. So first of all, we come from an era where we've hardly seen financials at SAA. So firstly, let's appreciate that for the first time in a while, we now can actually say financials were submitted. Secondly, there are two parts that we can attribute the profit that we've seen. Obviously, good governance and the strategic leadership of Prof. Lamula. But I think also we must also appreciate the fact that the business rescue process that SAA underwent would have allowed the entity to actually recalibrate, because when you go under business rescue, you get an opportunity to repudiate contracts that are actually strangling the entity. There was a challenge with those evergreen contracts, the pilot contracts. Those contracts, the business rescue gave an opportunity for them to be reviewed, and some of them repudiated. Secondly, SAA was now stuck in because there were no financials, and also was stuck with a historical debt of approximately 15 billion, and the business rescue allowed for that process where that debt was paid. So Prof and the team could start off on a clean slate and really redesign the business model to ensure that there are profits. So significantly, over and above his good leadership, which is commended, that business rescue process would have allowed the entity to breathe again.
And as SAA continues, to grow from strength to strength, one would then also ask, as the national carrier looks at expanding some of its flights, which other flights or routes rather can we anticipate that will return, which were very lucrative to the South African market?
I believe that the Hong Kong route would resume purely on the basis that while it was a profitable route, its underlying performance was not really the passengers more than it was the cargo. So as we see more and more of these e-commerce entities establishing in the country, you now have Amazon as well. There's going to be more need for movement of goods, and the Hong Kong route, because it connects easily with your regions in China that are the manufacturing regions. We might see that coming sooner. And also your direct US, it was one of the best connecting your New York, your LA. So I think we're going to see those routes, but it looks like at the moment the focus is on strengthening, because if you look at the financials, one of the performing networks, the best performing networks, is the region so far towards the profit. So I think they're going to solidify that first before they start adding on those. But definitely, I believe that the Asian markets, your Beijing, your Hong Kong, and the US routes should be open soon as well. But it's also worth noting that obviously the financials are presented, and we must accept them for what they are, without saying they are not true. They are unaudited financials. So once they are qualified, then we can truly say, okay, something is working here. What then should be the way forward?
All right, Nozipho, thank you so much for your time and for your contribution there and expanding on that topic for us. So that is Nozipho Mbatha, the Managing Director of Vol Air Logistics.